All right, everybody, we're going to get started. So keep this off while I'm speaking. I think that should be okay. First of all, welcome back, everyone. Starting off our Lions year. Good to see everybody, so many people in person. This is great. Usually I'm sequestered in my basement talking to people through Zoom, so this is nice. I'm glad to see everybody. We're going to start off with some announcements, and I invite Gary up. Shirley, you might have to take over camera duties for just a minute.
I think Sean's doing it.
You have everything we need, so you want to come up?
I do.
What do I do? Actually, that's fine. Oh, you're great. I'm sorry. All right. You know what? We were expecting Sean today, so since you're here, you get to do something instead. Come on up. All right.
No.
My Ed, Chairman Ed. So Ed has finished up his 2 years as our president, so we want to award him, get a president pin,
Past president.
past president pin. I stand corrected. So you put on your lapel and then you get the, it says in memoriam.
Ed, look this way. Thank you.
I stay up here because I get the honor of passing someone, come on up, Dad, brand new. He gets a president pin, and he gets his own gavel. Now, my gavel is maybe still in Cuba. I don't know where it is, but you better watch this really careful because people will steal it.
I've heard that.
Even when you're doing good, which I was at the time of that stolen. So just wanted you to be aware of that. But anyway, congratulations. Welcome.
Thanks, sir.
We appreciate it. Let's give him a hand.
All right, thanks, everyone. All right, so now that you sit back down, why don't you come back up? We're going to have you do one more.
You want me to hold that for you
Let me make sure.
while you're doing that? I'll hold that while you're doing this other thing.
You know what? You won't. Actually, I don't know. All right, never mind. You know what? We'll come back to that another time.
No.
What?
You need to present him with an award.
I do. You are so right.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready to stay.
Bear with me.
Be a black box.
Black box.
Yes, it's about 6.5 feet long.
All right, Ed. Here we go. On behalf of the Lions, we're going to present you with Lion of the Year Award.
Hey. Let's take it out of the plastic.
Now, this is for your work on the
Get a
100th
picture.
anniversary celebration, which,
I should be sharing with a number of people, just so you know.
but you pushed it through. You pushed it through, and it's appreciated by everyone. It turned out to be a great event, good turnout, great, just all the way around to it. So, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. All right.
Okay. Moving right along, we are going to have Gary come up, I believe, to talk about the USA Canada Forum.
Tail twister maybe or no?
Well, we'll get to the tail twister.
You're talking about the
You want
form.
me to talk about the form?
Unless, yeah, sure.
She's on the committee. It's not me.
I know.
All right. I am on the USA Canada Lions Leadership Forum that should have been held in Louisville, Kentucky this year. Due to the COVID, it's been postponed or canceled, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a virtual forum on September 25th, Friday, through the 27th. It is going to have seminars, it's going to have speakers, yes, it's going to be virtual, and it's only $20 to register for the whole weekend. So if you're interested, this is the best way to see what a forum is like without paying $200 and some for registration and hotel and meals. You can watch it in the comforts of your home for $20 the whole weekend, and you just need to go to lionsforum.org and you can register there. And again, it's September 25th through the 27th.
Great. And for those who haven't attended a leadership forum, as someone who's gone, it's a fantastic event. And being able to do it virtually without hotel fees and without anything else this year, great chance to just sample it. So give it a shot if you haven't done it. All right. And one other mention here, the Michigan Forum. You want me to just talk about that quick? So in November, normally there is the Michigan Leadership Forum where we go up north and we get together. Was that Higgins Lake? Higgins Lake, where we go up and we talk about leadership, Lions initiatives, things like that, how to get people involved. It's going to be a half-day event this year, virtual, so it's a little bit different. We aren't doing the Higgins Lake event at site anymore. We're going to be doing it virtually, and if you're interested, another opportunity to get signed up and try that out if you haven't before. For anyone who's got an interest, we'd love to have you. And I'm going to pass it over now to the tail twister. Jamie is here, yes? Yep. So take it away.
Okey-doke. For those that have forgotten, part of being a lion is wearing your pin. Anybody want to ante up some money for those that didn't wear a pin? $100 bucks. Yep. Yeah, I need these. Admitting, I don't look around and check them. So, okay, I guess did really well.
I have my Eagle Scout pin on. Is that pass?
No.
If you were at a Boy Scout meeting, that would be fun. Did you miss it? Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you got some happy stuff.
I would give you 25 cents, but there's a coin shortage.
So, with that done, did want to see if anybody did have some happy bucks. We've got a long time to think about it. Anybody has any happy bucks?
I got- I'm closer. Happy Buck, I want to welcome our new member back, Jim Kaiser. Haven't seen him in a long time, Jim. Good to see you.
I thought he was being introduced as a guest.
I got a happy 20 because I have a new grandson, my first one, Zachary. He's 3 months old. The only problem with Zach is he looks a lot like my son, so that means he looks a lot like
So my happy buck's a little different. This is in honor of Jerry Obie, for those who remember. I figured it'd be a perfect segue so I can bring a little more humor to today. So the story goes like this. One day, shortly after joining the PGA in 1965, Lee Trevino, a professional golfer and a married man, was at home in Dallas, Texas, mowing his front yard, as he always did. A lady driving by in a big, shiny Cadillac stopped in front of the house, lowered the window, and asked, "Excuse me, do you speak English?" Lee responded, "Well, yes, ma'am, I do." The lady then asked, "What do you charge for yard work?" Lee said, "Well, the woman of this house lets me sleep with her." The lady hurriedly put the car in gear and sped off. Okay, so I guess never mind.
Jerry did this.
Yeah.
Right there.
That was it?
Yeah, Jerry did this. Okay, so this is a book I'm going to write, and I was thinking of some of the topics of some of the chapters. First one is chapter 1, how to properly line up your fourth putt. The second chapter is how to hit a Nike ball from the rough when you hit a Titleist off the tee. The third chapter is how to avoid water when you lie 8 in the bunker already. and chapter 8 is proper excuses for drinking beer before 9 o'clock.
Any other happy bucks?
Gary hope he's alive and well.
Okay, I did want to introduce, yeah,
I'd like to introduce an old friend, Kurt Minders. He works at Travis Community College. And you want to tell us what you do there? And also your business?
I'm the director for customer support. I handle everything from the wall out to the desktop. So including customer service desk and technician purchasing. Thank you.
Everyone's.
Carol asked me to remind everybody, a get out of jail free card here is for parking. Okay,
I think Don needed one.
Jiggle.
okay. Try to avoid looking at. Do we have anybody here from Drive Revision, or do you want an update on that?
We do a quick update.
Okay, I was talking to Kyle this morning, just what's going on there with Drive Revision is on the 21st of September, which is coming up very shortly. It's actually going pretty darn well, folks. It looks like we're about 24 students. Normally we're at 32 or so, but they're 30. We're getting a few more in. Could use more prizes if anybody has that ability to get us some of those. Could accept more players. I would guess that it's going to run a little bit quicker because of some of the things they have to do. I don't think there will be an actual raffle that I'm standing up there calling out numbers for 4.5 hours. So that will pick up that a bit. And we can use more players. We can use donations. We can use more sponsors. Though we're in, we didn't know where it was going to go with the changes and stuff. And also, with everybody else that had to cancel and crowding into the same space, there's a little more competition going on. So, anyways, that's what's going on. But still welcome to join it or come over and be part of it. So, and the last, and this is just sort of me tossing it out to the group. This year on the calendar raffle, we brought in about the same amount. We had some difficulties going through it as far as with the gift card. That was, I was dealing with it with Mark. Thank you very much. But just wondering with what's been going on and going out to eat and so forth, is this a good and viable fundraiser that we want to do this year? Because I definitely have to start getting gift cards again. And so tossing it out to the group, which can go to the board or not, or whatever. That's just notice. Do
you want to mention anything about bowling?
I don't know anything about bowling, except it's not going for one.
That's right. Basically, that was it.
Yeah, I don't think bowling out there.
Bowling alleys are closed.
Yeah, I thought they were so close. I would guess that we will not have bowling at a minimum before the second half. Okay. Those Corona bowling shoes.
Jamie, how about eyeglass recycling?
Eyeglass is at 616 Photography, which is on 29th Street and East Paris. Yeah. We don't have any formal time set up right now for coming in because we're still trying to figure out how to space things properly. But if you would like to work at Eyeglass, example, Gail, my wife, she's been going over there, she's part of the committee, and they've been working some on Thursday mornings. I think Jean has been there at least when I'm at the franchise more than right now. So we are having some not regular Tuesday night times at this point. Got a lot of stuff stacked up in there that has to get shipped out, so we have enough space. But if you have any interest at all in coming, and actually you don't want to come at night, if you want to come during the day, you can call Scott, you can call me or Gail, and there is some work being done there right now. Just it's not quite where we have to be to have a regular time frame. Plus we've got to keep our distancing. It's a little bit smaller space than we have. So, but it is open. We have a place to ship them to still. The ones that we don't use, and I don't think we've got anything scheduled for a trip until probably 2022, at least on the normal time frame, which is February. There's no way we're gonna have one ready for this year, I don't think. Gary?
There's a tentative trip in the spring to Jamaica because we have glasses for that if they're open to go.
Right, yeah.
So,
Jamaica stuff is all set.
right. So,
But we are still in business. We're just not flowing real well.
And there is a shed to drop off glasses if you have any glasses in your garage or car or whatever.
The building itself has the photography studio in the front, and in the back, we have the back portion of it. So you have to go around back of the building for that drop-off center if you are collecting glasses. If you want to get going, let us know. And set up times to work.
Okay. All right, thanks, Jamie. Appreciate it. Mark, you want to talk about a new service opportunity quickly? Go for it.
So a little background, earlier this spring, my wife Kathy was doing some volunteer work with another group, and she got a call, hey, can you help this blind man go shopping? Sure. So we took David he lives over here just north of the MSU building. We took him shopping in Meyer. He's 58, blind, very, very limited vision. But his biggest need was he needed a ride to get to Meyer, take around and shop, and then a ride home. Jim Kaiser helped out a couple weeks back when we were out of town. And so in talking with David, he says there's a large unmet need for this kind of service in the blind community. Jim and Baird kind of confirmed that, as did Rick Stevens. So Kathy offered to organize a thing called Courtesy Shoppers. Is that right? So, you might say, well, why doesn't he take the GO bus? Why did he have a friend take him? Why didn't a relative take him? Point is, he's new to town. He doesn't know anybody. He's got money, but not a lot of it. He's on public assistance. He could take an Uber. It would be 15, 20 bucks either way. But then there's a 2-hour gap or an hour gap shopping. So you start adding all these little things up. It could be anywhere between 150 and 200 bucks a month for him to get his basic needs. I took him to look at an apartment last weekend. I took him to get his watch repaired. It's a talking watch. We've taken him shopping 4 or 5 times, and every 2 weeks he needs to eat. I guess the board is talking about making this a club project. I don't think it requires funding. It requires manpower. Our suggestion was people go in teams. So depending on where these people might live, it's always good to have somebody with the car, somebody go in and get the person from the house. When we go shopping, one person can be helping navigate the shopping cart, one person can be helping, pick it. So if it's something that you're interested in serving on, I don't think it requires a lot of advance notice. It doesn't require a ton of commitment. There could be a phone tree where if you're looking, if David needs to be picked up on Sunday at noon, who can do that? So anything else you want to answer?
Who should they contact if they want to do this?
So contact me or Kathy. Kathy is offered to volunteer this whole thing in terms of setting it up, getting a phone bank and email of people that are willing to do it. Could be club members, could be non-club members. It's basically chauffeur service. It's helping somebody that's going to be involved, that's limited site.
It took me 2 hours. I did it by myself.
Yeah.
2 hours.
You drove from Rockford, we drove from Cascade. It was, 10 minutes to get there, an hour shop. So it's really quick in and out. It took me another half an hour to go look at this apartment with them. Yeah.
The other good news is that if you think about liability, it's a Lions activity, so you're covered by Lions liability insurance from Lions International. If you're concerned about something happening when you're picking up somebody who's visually impaired, you're covered by liability insurance.
Yeah, I mean, this gentleman knew where the aisles were. He remembered where the hamburgers are. So he kind of led us. It was just not we were leading him. But the key is that according to him and Jim and Ann and Rick Stevens and Sherry Fox, who works at ABVI, there's a lot of need, but they can't necessarily have anybody from ABVI leave for 3 hours, pick somebody up, plus they're maybe by themselves. We think it's best handled with couples, just from an extra level of assistance and security. So yeah, call me or Kathy, and I don't know where this is going to go, but it's been sanctioned by the board, I think. I don't think there's any financial commitment other than gas money. And he was willing to pay us, but when we found out how much he has in his monthly stipend, it's like $800. That's for rent, that's for food. So, you start taking out $20 a shot, he doesn't have much left over. And he's not buying gourmet brands. We're looking for the cheapest, Spartan brand or whatever. So it seems like a very reasonable idea that wasn't being met. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, we're going to do one more piece of business before the presentation, and this is for those who are here. We always get every year some chevrons for years of service, so we're going to distribute to those who are here. And the first one is going to be Shelley Irwin. If you wouldn't mind coming up.
How many years?
Shelley earned her chevron for 15 years of service to the Lions. There you are, on the back there. And there you go. So thank you very much. There we go. All right. Next up is Lion Kim Gary. If you could come up, please. Kim's been with the Lions for 35 years of service. There you go. Thank you, Kim. And last up we have more obviously, but for those in this room, I'd like to bring up Dr. Gary Anderson for 40 years of service to the Lions Club. Thank you very much. All right, and we're going to move on to our speaker now, and actually I'll have Shelley come back up to do an introduction. Oh, I'm sorry. We should do a wrap up.
First one is worth $5. Second one is worth a shot at whatever the grand prize is in there at $90. Yeah. And
Woo! Big time.
plus today. These are natural selections.
Yellow brown, yellow brown.
Okay. Last 4 digits. I get to do this instead of doing it drive for pension. 8557.
That sounds like a gene.
He picked it.
Oh my gosh. If this is 8556, we want to recall.
Here then. And if you would draw another one for the selection of the chips and the possible winnings of maybe $40. Before I do this, is the white chip in here?
I'd look. Otherwise.
You don't need the white chip. You don't need a white chip.
It's in there.
Yeah, there never has been.
Not until the last week. So that
It only goes in when there's 5 left.
8734.
About 3-1. Oh, wait.
8734, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Lucky.
I know.
Why is that up there?
Too slow.
Heard that before.
You okay, Brian?
So, yeah. Yes.
He's known for wearing zipper sweaters. He loves to grill, and his first camera was a Pentax K1000. Brian Kelly, once the COVID-19 pandemic hit, he needed a way to stay creative and safely work with photography, so he started playing with drones. There is an opportunity to see our great Grand Rapids from his latest work, which is still in print, still looking to come out. It is entitled Aerial, Grand Rapids from Above. You've seen Brian's work at Art Prize, Laugh Fest, Spectrum Health, and more, so he's a big deal. Brian, talk to us. Round of applause.
Yay!
Thank you, Shelley, for the invitation. I've known Shelley quite some time. It seems like I'm fortunate enough to occasionally get on air with her if I have some crazy project I'm working on, and we were just on last week talking about this book. I just want to give you just a little bit of an overview of my career and then what led up to this special project and what was resulting in a coffee table book of Grand Rapids. But there's a few twists and turns in that story, and I'll get to it. But I went to GRCC. We have a guest from GRCC. I dabbled in college after high school. I went to Northview High School on the Northeast side, and then went to GRCC in Grand Valley for a year. Just didn't know what I wanted to do, and I dropped out. I just started working and worked for a few years, and then decided to go back. Went back to the photography course, and that just gave me everything. This is like 1995, and getting in the darkroom and developing film in black and white, and seeing, that's when I first started to photograph the city. We had to have assignments to, to share with the class, and so I would start shooting the city at night, and that was a big part of my early years as a photographer. I can't advance this. There we go. There we go. So architectural work became kind of an early cornerstone of my work. These are all recent images on my website. But interiors, exteriors, basically any type of working for architects, general contractors, interior designers, anyone who needed their spaces documented in a formal architectural way. And so I just was working crazy around that stuff. And then shot a lot at night, a lot of dusk photography. That became an early specialty. And, but eventually what happened was I started to branch out more and do different types of photography. A lot of it was pre-digital. I was shooting 4x5 U camera, if you remember what those were. You go under a dark cloth and look at the image on a ground glass screen, and it was upside down and reversed. And so that was a formal way to shoot architecture. Around 2004, I went fully digital, and that opened up a whole other world of portraiture, which I actually kind of avoided my early part of the career. My first 8-10 years of my career, I did not like to shoot portraits of people. Mostly, it took me a while to figure out that everybody thinks they're overweight and their nose is too big, they have 5 chins or whatever. We all bring our own baggage to our photos, and we don't like to look at ourselves that much, but I sort of took it as maybe I wasn't a good photographer, was my takeaway. But I worked, eventually what happened after 2004, I started to do a lot of environmental portraiture. Or some of these are crazier images that I've shot for Laugh Fest. And one of my biggest things, my greatest joys over the last 10 years have been working with Laugh Fest. And my primary job is to just take a very unique portrait of every one of the top comedians that comes in for Laugh Fest. So it's been 10 years. And it's been a great joy. And this guy is Rory Scoble, who's a very funny comedian. And we just played golf in his hotel room at the JW, which was fun. So eventually through Laugh Fest, I got to photograph a lot of well-known people, and that led, it's a chicken or egg type of thing. You know, you're not really given high-profile people to photograph until you have some high-profile people in your portfolio. I worked with them and Emma a couple of years ago, a couple of times in Detroit. I also do a lot of advertising and advertising campaigns. This is a photograph that was shot for this. It's actually electronic window shades, like here, and they're a French company. Trevor Noah was shot for Laugh Fest. This was a campaign for University of Illinois at Champaign. Just kind of this proud, heroic portraiture. There's Anderson Cooper. You know, these are all kind of random. John Mulaney is a comic. This is Dr. Peter Hahn, who's the CEO of Metro Health. And I've also worked on a lot of personal projects, and one of those was a series I'm still working on. It's been about 8-9 years of portraits of Detroiters. I'm from, was born in Royal Oak, but I've lived in Grand Rapids my whole life. But about 8-10 years ago, before Detroit was really on this aggressive rebound, mostly the visual narrative coming out of Detroit was very much one about ruins and abandonment and decay. And that seemed to be the dominant sort of visual narrative coming out of Detroit. And I started a portrait project where I was just shooting entrepreneurs and artists and different people that are really the heart and soul of Detroit. And this is Sebastian. He owns a barbershop. All the wood in this barbershop and the flooring and the shelving is all from reclaimed houses around, you know, bombed out, burned out houses around Detroit. Took the lumber, repurposed it. So his whole salon is about, I say salon, it's a barbershop. It's about renewal, regrowth, rebirth, and refreshment. And so he's became kind of a metaphor for the city. This was shot for Studio Park downtown. This is a bit of compositing that happens. I shot somebody in costume at a CrossFit gym as Spider-Man, and then used my drone to photograph the underlying cityscape. And then those things are composited together, kind of like a movie poster. You might see that there's a lot of separate elements that are shot days apart, weeks apart, and then we composite them into one photograph. A little more of that. Just straight up architectural work, Mandel Institute. More from that. And do some automotive work as well. Some stuff for Merrill. This is footwear and activewear, fitness wear, fitness boxing. Some model portfolios, and then, you know, my bread and butter is kind of around healthcare stories, shooting real patients and real people for healthcare campaigns. Could be a pharmaceutical company, could be Spectrum Health, could be Metro Health. These are real patients with real outcomes, and I also have a video production company, and we do a lot of hybrid, what was called hybrid productions. That means we're doing photography and we're also doing video out of the same production the same day. It's a very efficient way to go at it, but then I wear more hats. I'm not just the photographer, portraitist of the patient. I'm also directing and producing the video components and the crews that help capture like a mini documentary about their life, their diagnosis, what kind of drug regimen are they on, those types of things. That's kind of where my bread and butter is made, you know, kind of like, you know, what they said, oh, what do you do for a living? It's going to be a lot of these photographing real people, real stories, real outcomes. But this very kind of heroic looking lighting is something that I'm very interested in. I want to, humanity and people are important, and preserving people's dignity, even if they're in the midst of a tough diagnosis, is really important to me, and sort of elevating our perception of them, whether they're a top CEO or they're a top comedian or they're just someone with colon cancer who's had a successful outcome and they're somehow back to their normal life. That's an important part of my approach to photography, is preserving their humanity and dignity. And these are all people in the midst of their cancer journey, supporting an organization called Bent Not Broken. And I just want to be sensitive at the time. I want to just pivot a little bit. I've always loved flying drones, and drones are part of the last 4 or 5 years, though, maybe less, maybe 3 or 4 years I've owned a drone and use them for video productions and photography occasionally, but not a lot of photography. They're really great for video sequences, B-roll of the city. B-roll is just illustrative, beautiful, flowing video imagery of Grand Rapids or wherever I needed to get aerial imagery of. And what happened was, I have to put in the password here. Oh no, sorry. Is I started to photograph the city. Let's go back to COVID hit. So spring is going great. I've been doing this for 22, 23 years. I'm shooting well-known people. I'm shooting corporate stuff. I'm, advertising campaigns. I see my work on billboards. It's video productions are all very busy. And just like everybody else, the pandemic hit, and I can't do any work, none. Everything's shut down. And to complicate things, a little bit of a backstory is my daughter. I have 3 daughters. Hannah's almost 21, Maddie's 19, and my youngest daughter, Faith, is 15, and she has cerebral palsy. And throughout the course of her life, and she also has some severe vision issues as well. She sees a well-known optometrist and tongue doctor, vision issues. But she suffered a stroke in utero. That just means she had a massive brain hemorrhage in the womb at about 38 weeks, 2 weeks before she was born. That imbalance in her brain hemorrhage, she's very lucky. But the result of that is just available for what, she's high function, which we're very grateful for. But she has a bit of stress on her right side of her body through spasticity and just the brain damage is always telling her body to contract on the right side. Long story short, she's had a series of very successful surgeries over the course of her life. She's 15. This year in January, she was going to get double knee surgery on some complicated surgeries on both of her lower legs. That surgery occurred in February. Then she was home for 6 weeks on bed rest. They'd done some bone work, and then she was, I promise I'm getting to the point, is why I even did aerial photography at Grand Rapids and came out with a book. So she's home for 6 weeks. COVID starts to become an issue that nothing's really shut down in February and early March. We're scheduled then to take her from home into Mary Freebed Rehabilitation Hospital, where she can then begin to learn how to walk again, get strong again, because her bones had to heal at home for 6 weeks in a hospital bed that we had put in our home. So 6 weeks of inpatient 24/7 care at Mary Freebed Rehabilitation Hospital. That's a mouthful. But anyway, we check in. Our plan is that my wife, she's 15. She has some development issues in terms of her cognitive level, but she's, again, very high functioning. She'd have a wonderful conversation with you here. She would enjoy being here, and it's great. However, we didn't want her to stay overnight at the hospital by herself as a 15-year-old. At Mary Freebed, she's going through painful rehab, learning how to work, make her legs work again. So 2 days after we check into the hospital, the plan was my wife would stay maybe 4 or 5 nights a week. I'd stay 2 nights a week, get my wife home and do that. And I would work, because the pandemic had shut everything down. So I would stay home with my older daughters, college age, they're finishing up school for that semester. And the hospital shut down 2 days after we went in, and we had a kind of a choice to make. No visitors allowed. One adult could stay with her 24/7. And then the other adult would have to go home, but you can't visit the hospital. You can't see them or physically go visit them. So the choice was made. My wife would stay at Mary Freebed, and I would stay home with our older girls while they finished school, and I would hopefully just keep busy working. Well, then the pandemic shut everything down. This is mid-March, late March. And I started to feel a little bit strange, like I'm disconnected from my wife and daughter. I can FaceTime with them and do things like that, but it's not the same. I'm enjoying my time home with my other daughters, my older daughters, but you know, it was a stressful time. What happened was I was not sleeping great. I'm wondering what's happening with my business. I'm wondering what you know, what's going to become of not just my business, but you know, I can't help my daughter and my wife. And I started to feel a little bit anxious, a little bit, I don't know if it's depression. I'm not a depressing person. We've had a lot of crisis in our life, and it just like, it takes a while for me to break, you know. And then, but what it started happening is I woke up one morning and I just happened to look out the window. It was probably 5:36 in the morning. And I just happened to look out the window from my pillow and I saw just the faintest of light coming across above the trees, pre-dawn. And it looked like it was going to be a gorgeous sunrise. For some reason, I got out of bed, I grabbed my drone, made a pot of coffee, headed out to downtown Grand Rapids. And I just started chasing this light, and this to fly around. So these are some of the images that are in a resulting book. I had no plans to make a book. I had no objective other than to relax and look at the city differently. This is kind of an interesting image. I'll just point out there's a peregrine falcon on the W of the runway, and he's looking at himself in the reflective glass. This was shot at sunset. So flying around Reef Lake, I got into these abstractions. There's a rowing crew, EGR High School rowing crew down there, and I just started to really see the city differently. This is Calder Plaza right here, straight down. Started to look at the city in a very abstract way. And I just got addicted to flying. I love the calm of Grand Rapids. I felt like Grand Rapids was really sort of nourishing me in a way that I hadn't really felt during this sort of time where I'm disconnected from my wife and daughter. And then I thought, well, I have a book here. I don't have any other clients. I don't have client deadlines. So I started flying. Got addicted to this peacefulness I was feeling. So I'd get up almost nearly every single morning, fly from 5:30 until maybe 8:30, different parts all over the city. And then I thought, a couple months later, early July, I thought I should do a coffee table book. There hasn't been a photo book of Grand Rapids in a very long time. I can't even remember the last one that was out. That was a Vinny thing. I thought, oh, this is an interesting way to see our city. I can fly this drone safely. This drone is going to provide perspectives of places that you've never seen before. I was never seen them before. I've done a lot of aerial photography for my architectural work, and then from airplanes and helicopters, but drones can take you safely where you can't go. An airplane or a helicopter can't. And this is the amphitheater where Bergmeyer, the outdoor concert series is. Just looking down, I started to see these abstractions and seeing architecture and design and landscape design in ways I never had before. And it just became this really fascinating exercise. This is Veterans Memorial Park downtown, right by the Children's Museum. And just looking straight down, this, the horse, the love sculpture, the fish ladder, St. Adalbert's right over here. Have you ever noticed on the highway, you see those golden trumpets and they look so small? Well, those are pretty big statues up there. I just got fascinated about this sort of process. And so it culminated, I thought, well, great, I enjoy book form. And I thought, well, how do I know how many to print during a pandemic? So I started a Kickstarter project. And if you're unfamiliar with Kickstarter.com, it's just a way to kickstart projects and get funding. And I thought, well, I don't need funding. I'm not asking people to give me money. I'm just asking people to pre-order the book. If they trust me, they know anything in my career, I'm going to put every my heart and soul into this thing and really make the best possible book I can. And that's what I did, and that just concluded last week. And we raised nearly, pre-sold about $29,000 worth of books, which is fantastic. Part of the proceeds of every single book goes back to Mary Free Bed Rehabilitation Hospital, and also Disability Advocates of Kent County, two very worthy. The profits are split evenly between those, or what we're donating from every single book is split between those two organizations. And what's really cool is Mary Free Bed came up with the idea to say, We have a whole pediatric cerebral palsy program, which Faith was a part of while she was doing her rehab. And we want those dollars to get better equipment, better technologies. So when kids visit from all over for cerebral palsy rehabilitation care at Mary Free Vet, we're going to get new equipment with whatever funds you can divert from the book at Mary Free Vet. So really cool thing, kind of a full circle. Was able to get them involved with that. But it was really just born out of the pandemic. I never would have flown this many flights. I mean, I literally flew hundreds of flights. I would fly 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times in the morning, different parts around the city. The same thing at dusk. In the midday, I would just charge batteries, offload the files, work on them, see what was up. And so right now, the only bad part about our interaction today is the further orders of the book are paused right now. It's off to print. I am doing a modest overrun of books. So in October-ish, I'm going to open up a website called arielgrandrapids.com. You can buy prints from the book, and you can also order copies of the book. And the book, I won't even have physical copies until late October. It takes a very long time. I pulled out every stop. I'm just telling you, as far as the printing of the book, the quality, it's a 13 by 11 inch book, which is a large coffee table book. And what's really cool is when you open up a 13-inch book and spread it open, these panoramic vistas become 26 inches across the printed page. So all these details, cars, people passing on bikes, and these little moments, these little secret part of Grand Rapids that I happen to capture from a drone become alive and much easier for you to investigate at 26 inches or 13 inches wide. And it's just been a great pleasure to design the book. Go around, there's Millennium Park. Oops, hold on, hit the wrong button. But that's a little bit about it. And Shelley invited me on to talk, maybe I invited myself on your show. I don't know which way, but anyway, to talk about the book and help, it became a good part of my back end of this year. I sort of had to rethink what I was doing as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. I wanted to stay doing photography and stay creative, but what really the takeaway was I didn't really do it with an objective of a coffee table book. I was just doing it for my own sort of peace of mind. And I just found such joy in flying around the city and rediscovering Grand Rapids in a way I'd never seen it before. And then the aha moment was, well, let's put a book together. I don't have to cash in my 401k if I do a Kickstarter. People will just buy the book. So we sold almost 700 copies of the book, sight unseen, which is pretty incredible when you think about the support of the community. And then we'll have a few hundred copies extra that we'll sell through the holidays. Yes, sir.
Have you lost any drones to any flying predators?
The osprey. There's the osprey are very aggressive, and I've almost lost a drone. I have a photo of kind of one that those towns were up. I didn't know it was there until it would have been too late. But yes, there's the osprey are very aggressive. Other little birds will fly at it. They don't like it. But yes, the osprey are very big birds, and they will definitely. The peregrine falcon is not a problem. They're not interested. In fact, he's kind of king of the sky. I think he was, looking at me very condescendingly as my drone goes. But yeah, I'll open up for questions if you have other ones. But it's basically, it's kind of a visual sort of. I don't know if it's too hokey to say. It's kind of this visual poem about Grand Rapids and these different places, kind of a visual love letter of sorts. Grand Rapids has always supported my career, given me tremendous opportunities. And I think this book is a great way to sort of reflect on that. So if you are interested, it's a great gift. It's a great coffee table book if you have an office. Yeah.
What was the website again? Ariel?
Yeah, it's not live yet. So if you're building a really beautiful website, it's called Ariel, A-E-R-I-A-L, arielgrandrapids.com. And you can buy books there, and you can also purchase prints from there. And who knows what else? I don't know. Bugs, coasters. I'm joking, but yeah, it's been a beautiful. My daughter, as mentioned, has had a lot of vision issues and some surgeries down at the University of Michigan Hospital. And so we're frequent flyers in the healthcare and world, and it was a pleasure to be here talking to you guys, especially around your efforts around helping and with vision and just eyesight issues. I think, again, when people are vulnerable, they in society, more vulnerable than ourselves as able-bodied, able-visioned people, it requires collective effort to make sure those people are cared for and nurtured and fully exercise their full capacity as human beings. So thank you, Shelley, for having me, and appreciate it. And I'll stick around if you have any questions later after I have some more coffee. Thank you.
Really quick, Ryan, as a token of appreciation, we have a selection of gifts today instead of just one. So you can choose the beautiful Lions mug or the beautiful Lions, what is this?
It's like an emergency Band-Aid packet.
Emergency mandate packet. So whatever your need, Lions will be there. This I will use for sure. There you go. All right. Thank you for being here, Brian. Appreciate it. And with that, folks, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Oh, hey,